All right, welcome to another video from the chart readers. We are going to look at the FAANG stocks. So there are 5 here. We'll start with Meta and go through the rest. We'll do what we always do, right? We're going to look at the daily and the weekly charts. We'll use our 5 moving averages and then these horizontal support and resistance lines that I do manually draw. And then when we're done up here, we'll use the MACD and the RSI as our lower indicators. Again, I like the RSI more than the MACD. I just really use them both for consistency, right? I want them to say the same thing. And then again, 80% of the work is up here. This is the last cherry on top down here. So Meta, I was definitely very pessimistic on this thing, right? Because just zooming out again real quick, nothing but trading well under the 8. Obviously struggling to get over the 20. It looked like there was going to be a break right here. Again, we don't care about a single break, right? You care about confirmation. Clearly, there was no confirmation, right? It went under the 8. And then this right here is just what happens with bad earnings, right? I'll be honest, I didn't read the earnings. I don't know the numbers. I'm not going to pretend to even care, right? All I've always said is this: if the earnings were good, it will break up and then I'll react from there. I'll get in and I'll be happy, right? If earnings are bad, hey, I don't care because I'm already not in, right? So that's really how I do it. Again, I'm not a long-term trader. I do swing trades. Hopefully I buy something and then sell it maybe in a couple days, a couple weeks, right? Just depends what the 8 moving average and the rest do, right? From there, where are we sitting? Look, after a good gap down, we basically make a few day run. I'll say this: Friday might be a little optimistic, and hey, maybe it'll make a run to 94, about a 5% move, give or take. But look, there is a lot that needs to happen before you start putting money into this. Now, believe me, long term, there's a lot, I mean, metaverse and all that kind of stuff, right? Like Facebook's supposed to be a good stock. It is the first of the FANGs, right? F back in the day, now obviously M, right? But when we zoom out to the weekly, you'll see that the next line down I have, I gotta zoom out a lot. I probably should have gone to the monthly, is down here. So what is this guy? How do I show the number? Man. Show value. Cool. Okay, perfect. So I'll show value. Sorry, I should have done this before I made the video, right? Look at how unprofessional this is. But no, again, look at that. My next line is actually under $70, right? It's at 69.88. And if you look on the weekly, just zoomed out, it looks a little more dramatic, right? But that's a real bad MACD, and it's a choppy RSI, but nonetheless, it's definitely a downtrending green and a pretty smooth going down with it red, right? So there's a lot of reason to believe this might keep going down more on the weekly, which is real bad for the daily, right? Again, that's a pretty bad RSI. RSI is low. It's definitely at 18, but we have seen stocks get RSIs in single digits, right? So I always say 80 to 30 is 80 to 30 is that like range, but we've seen in the 90s, we've seen in like the 9 to 7 range as well. So Meta not looking good. Again, you might see a 5% run to about 94 cents. I could see that kind of playing out. Hey, maybe even a run up to, what is it? Yeah, 98.18, right? Basically the 8 moving average. You see it in the left box. But a lot needs to happen before this is worth your money. And look, getting over this 20 line is now going to be a lot more important. Believe me when I say that, because it already struggled to do it back up here. It's definitely going to start to struggle down here with it, right? Or, hey, maybe it breaks the 8 and then fills that gap a lot sooner, right? I mean, there's a lot of things that really could play out. Overall, I'm going to be pessimistic on this, but some positive stuff could happen. I just would imagine it would be short term, right? But I'll make a couple lines because I guess they're worth them. I did just mention them. We'll take the top of this guy, and then obviously it's going to be that. I mean, look, one day this 99 to 123 gap is going to fill, and we'll be real happy, right? We're going to put that in our bank. We're going to sell it once it hits up here, and we're going to profit that, right? for now, hopefully you knew not to get in. We were real pessimistic. Hopefully you didn't let a quick 3-day fake out hurt you a lot, right? Because again, got over the 20 for sure, but no confirmation the day after, right? Again, we looked at the weekly. Yeah, I'm not going to go on the monthly. That's okay. That's a good view of Meta. I will go to Apple, AAPL. I hope it was Apple, then not Amazon, but whatever. Okay, so again, I made this video around here. I think it was the 22nd, 21st, something like that, right? So, look, this Apple stock does really well with trading over the 8, right? This right here was a good place you could have sold. Obviously, it did make another move after, right? But generally speaking, if it goes under the 8, that's generally bad. Hey, we did get one recovery. But hey, the 20 saved us here. Clearly, the 20 did not save us here, and it went down even lower, right? But again, I don't know if this was because of earnings, what it was. Nonetheless, look, this is kind of a technical thing we see often, right? There are 1, 2, 3, 4, literally all 5 moving averages are in this daily cluster right here, pretty much between this 145 and 156, right? So I'm surprised it didn't stay in here a little bit more. Maybe kind of like we saw down here, maybe it'll kind of rocket up off this and get back in. But generally, you see it trade in a cluster a little bit longer than this one's doing here, right? It did a horizontal right here. It dropped. It kind of came up. You can almost say, I think it's a little exaggerating to say it, right? But yeah, I actually thought that this would do this a little bit more. But clearly only one save on the 20 and then down right here, right? If I go to the weekly, let's see what line is after 133. Oh man, I have no lines under 133. So let's make a couple new horizontals. We'll use the bottom of that guy. Oh, that was a pretty good placement. And it actually hits right there. I'm okay with that. And it hits right there. I like that line a lot. All right. I think we'll use this guy. Yeah, I'm okay using this one actually. And really, we have the 200. This is pretty much the next one. Obviously, this one's going to be moving, right? But I think for now, this will be okay. One more time, looking at Apple on the weekly, ugly, ugly, ugly RSI. Looks like the green wants to keep going down. It looks like the red wants to stay up. Also, we see red over green, not a good thing up here. And the MACD is now negative. I don't talk about the number too much in the MACD, but positive is better than negative, right? So Apple on the weekly is not looking good. Definitely a little scary here for Apple holders. AMZN. All right, Amazon. Again, look at this, right? So Amazon, when we were making the video the last time, right, it was right here. Clearly it was trying to do some moves, right? It never got over this cluster right here. From here, I'm assuming earnings came out in one of these days. Again, if the earnings was good, and you know, I don't wake up to listen to some earnings report like people know, right? If it was good, it would have broke the 200 more than likely, and we would have, you know, been trading up here and been real good, right? So it didn't. It clearly did this. And hey, look, nonetheless, this right here would have been an easy place to get out. This right here would have been an easy place to get out. There's absolutely no reason why any of this noise should have bothered you, right? Because again, we care about the 8 moving average. I'm telling you that 8 is a lifesaver if you really believe it. And then you use these other lines as your bounce points, right? Your supports and resistances, right? So again, not very good on the daily, not very good on the RSI and the MACD. I don't know why I said daily. Sorry about that. Weekly, not a good RSI, not a good MACD. Number of weeks, now at least 2 weeks under the 8. This also had a cluster, actually. Look at that. The same thing that we saw with Apple. And then again, just kind of heading down. And really, I got to check if I have any lines under 107. I do not. Oh, man. Okay, so let me zoom in just a little bit. Let's make some lines here, people. So what do we see? I'm going to use this, but is this a lot? Wow, we're actually not that far from this one. Shit. So let's put that right there. You can see it hits right there. Yeah, it hits those right there, hits that right there. That's a big line right there. We like that. Dude, I can't believe this thing's right here. Where are we? Oh, man. Yeah, you can see actually right? Just kind of visualize where this line is. It hit this, it hit this. This definitely is a line that I could have drawn in the last video but didn't. I feel bad about that. This 81 line seems very realistic, and you saw I just actually zoomed out to make the next one down after that. I think we're going to use this bad boy right here. And then let me see what this one looks like. Yeah, I'll use it because it hits this and pretty much one of those. Boom. That's not that good actually. Yeah, that's a little better. Cool, because again, yeah, it hit right there. There's about 50% of that one. I'm okay with that. Okay, so these are the next lines down. Again, Amazon, this can easily drop into the 80s, 70s, and 60s very, very quickly. And that's on the weekly, right? Because again, this, I've always said it, when you're under all five, it's really bad. When you're over all five, it's real good, right? You don't want my manual lines to be the things that save you. You want these computer generated colored ones, right? So Amazon, not looking good. I've got some friends that have a lot of shares in this because they work at this company, and it is no bueno if you can't cash those bad boys in. NFLX, Netflix. Let's check out Netflix. Okay, we've been talking about this gap fill forever. Look, sometimes my lines literally are the things that stop it, right? Because this looked like such a good and pretty, hinder free, I don't know what the word is, right? But this should have been a cleaner and sexier gap fill. It just never matriculated out, right? Big break of the 200, a good confirmation over my line, over 50%. 2-day follow through after that, right? I mean, look, let's be honest. There was some good profit to be made here, right? After that, look, this is easily avoidable for sure by this day. I hope you knew to get out, right? We're now under the 8. But as you start to lose 50% candle, right, you could have even kind of made the guess this way. I would have been okay to hold it, right? Because we've seen multiple times where it bounced off. So I would have also held right here. And then, yeah, for sure this day you do jump out. But, man, this was supposed to be a nicer break, but never happened. Now kind of looks like we're making our way down, right? Because again, real ugly MACD, right? This one actually got into the positives and now kind of just seems like it's going to drop. Much uglier RSI than we've seen, but again, this is a higher RSI than we've seen on the other ones, right? On the daily. And then I imagine it's just, oh, look, okay. Little bit of a flip-flop here. Again, we like the consistency, but I always say I like the RSI a little more. So the fact that this guy's coming down, I'm going to put a little more emphasis here. But again, looked like it wanted to make a run to the 50. It definitely couldn't happen. Comes down and might be losing the 8, right? Let's see what happens here. But Netflix, really sad, actually. Really sad. Excuse me. And then last on the list is Google. Again, I imagine this was earnings right here, right? You can kind of say that this was the 50 moving average. But again, look, I imagine this was an earnings drop. Nonetheless, right? It just doesn't matter because either way, if you're playing the technicals, definitely goes up. You already know that this is going to be a resistance, right? So you're ready for it, right? Clearly not the drop you want to find. And hey, there are ways of using stop losses to also stop yourself from dropping to this, right? But yeah, all that said, man, Google is definitely just sitting in a pretty bad place right now, right? Well under the 8, trying to make a move, right? This might do what we said Facebook, Meta might do. I could see it kind of maybe coming up to 92, maybe to like 90, right? Maybe hit the 8 or hit the bottom of this. But yeah, ultimately, let's see what the weekly is looking like. Yeah, that's a bad weekly. That's a bad weekly. We've now lost 1, 2, 3, 4, all 5 of them on the weekly. And look, we're now on the 5th and last one. All 4 before it were bad. So you just kind of figure all of these are moving together in the downward path, right? Look, these are all staples. I'm not by any means saying, hey, never buy these again or all that stuff, but there's a lot lower these ones can go. And believe me, if these big boys and girls stocks go down, the little ones, man, they go down almost more dramatically, right? The markets, the Dow, the NASDAQ, and the S&P 500 are not quite saying the same thing, but these ones are, and these ones are in a lot of one. Obviously, they're a little more NASDAQ focused, so I can see them being a little worse because NASDAQ's bad, but believe me, these are also in the S&P 500, and they're all, I'm assuming they're in the Dow. I might double check that on me, but yeah, just be careful with tech especially. So this makes it seem like NASDAQ might not recover either, right? So trade safely out there. Maybe look at more Dow Jones Industrial kind of non-tech stocks if you're going to be moving money. But trade safely, and hey, I hope you're learning.